After signing into the computer, click the Patterson Eagle Soft icon. Find your name in the provider box, type in your password. Click the Login button. After logging in, select Patient, type in your patient's last name, select the patient by double-clicking. After the patient is selected, you may click the Chart button. When opening the chart for restorative, go down to the bottom of the screen, select Existing. This will make all of the restorations that you chart an existing restoration. To chart a restoration or any other oral condition, select the tooth prior to selecting the oral condition. After selecting the tooth, we can move on to the COM-A button. COM-A stands for a resin composite in the anterior portion of the mouth. Click the COM-A button. It will show that the restoration is already existing. Go down to the Detailed Surfaces, select Detailed Surfaces. Then select what surface the resin or composite is on. For example, you may click Mesial Surface. Then click OK. This will then chart the composite on the mesial surface of the tooth that was selected. To chart a posterior composite, you will select a posterior tooth. Then move to the COM-P button. Select the COM-P button. Move down to Detailed Surfaces again. Select the surface that the composite is on. For example, click Distal. Then click OK, and it will chart the composite on the distal surface of the posterior tooth that was selected. Select the tooth that you would like to set an amalgam restoration on. Select the AMAL button. Go down to Detailed Surfaces, then select the surface which the amalgam is present on. Then click OK. It will chart where the amalgam restoration is. If there is a gold foil present, select the tooth that it is on. Go back to the amalgam button, select the drop-down arrow. Select how many surfaces that the gold foil is present on. Select it, go down to Detailed Surfaces, select the surface, click OK, and the gold foil will chart on the surface you selected. To chart a porcelain fused to metal crown, select the PFM button. Click the drop-down arrow and select the type of porcelain fused to metal crown that is present. Because we selected the existing when we first opened the chart, it already states that it's existing. Click OK, and the PFM crown will appear. If there is a sealant present, select the tooth that it is on, select the Seal button, click OK, and it will have an S over the tooth stating that there is a sealant there. There is an inlay present on a tooth. Select the tooth, go to the Inlay button, select the inlay, click Detailed Surfaces, select the surfaces that it is on, click OK. Then it will highlight that there is an inlay on the crown. on the tooth. If there is a different type of inlay, you may go to the drop down arrow next to the inlay button, and you are able to select the different types of inlay that presents. It will then come up to the detailed surface screen, and you may select that there is another inlay. Then click OK. If that happens and there is a tooth missing and you do not have the tooth highlighted, you may type in the tooth number that it presents on in the tooth number box. Then you may hit OK. It will then highlight the area that the inlay is on. If there is an onlay present, select the tooth that the onlay is on. Then go over to the onlay button, go down to the detailed surfaces, select the surfaces that the onlay is on, then click OK. The onlay will then present itself on that tooth where you highlighted. If there is a root canal present, select the tooth that the root canal is on. Then go to the RCT button, select it, click OK, and it will chart that there was a root canal placed. If there is a post placed in the root canal, select the tooth that it is on, go back to the RCT button, click the drop down arrow, select post, click OK, and the post will then appear. If there is an implant present, select the tooth that it is on, click the IMPLT button, click OK. The implant will then appear. If there is a crown present on the tooth, select the tooth again, go back to the PFM button, click OK, and then the crown will appear. If there is decay present on the tooth, select the tooth that the decay is on. Then click the decay button. Go down to the detailed surfaces and click the surface that the decay is present on. Then click OK. The decay will then be present in the areas that you selected. If there is a tooth that has been extracted, select the tooth, go over to the EXT button, then click OK. It will cross out the extracted tooth. If there is a tooth missing, select the tooth, go over to the MST tooth button, click OK, and it will become invisible. If the patient has a full denture, you will have to state if the teeth are missing or extracted prior to charting the denture. To make it easier, there is an all upper button. Select the all upper button, click extracted. This will state that all of the teeth have been extracted. Then select all upper again, go to the DENTR button, select it, click OK, and then it will chart the denture. If the patient has a lower full denture, select all lower, then select whether the teeth have been extracted or missing, click OK, select all lower again, click the denture button again, click OK, and then it will chart the complete denture on the lower portion. If there is a partial denture present, there are buttons underneath the all upper and all lower. The UL, UR, LL, LR are for quadrants. So if there is a partial denture in the upper left quadrant, hit the UL button. Then select extracting if the teeth are extracted. Click OK. Select the UL button again. Go to the RPD button, select it, select OK, and then it will chart the partial denture. If there is a bridge present, select the tooth that is one of the abutments. Go to the BRGA button, select it, go to the Connects to Bridge button area. Select the side that the abutment attaches to the bridge. In this case, it is the mesial side. Click OK. Go to the other tooth that the abutment is. Select the tooth, go back to the BRGA button, select it, go to the Connects to Bridge on, select the side, which in this case it will be the distal side, click OK. You are able to see that it connects on tooth number 5 on the distal surface, and on tooth number 1 it connects on the mesial surface. Select the teeth that are pontics, select missing or extracted, click OK, highlight the teeth again, go to the BRGP button, select it, click OK, and it will chart the bridge that is present. You are able to see that it properly connects to the areas that you selected for the pontics. If there is a condition that is not present on the right hand column, select the tooth that the oral condition is on, click the condition button. You are able to see that there are multiple different conditions within this list. If there is a lingual bar present, it will be found in this list. If this tooth that you have selected has a mesial drift, select mesial drift. Click Use. Then click OK. It will then come up with an arrow underneath the tooth showing that it has a mesial drift. If there is a lingual bar or braces present, select the teeth that the braces or lingual bar presents on. For example, I am going to select tooth number 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, and 22. I will go over to the Conditions button, scroll down to the lingual bar, select lingual bar, select Use, click OK, and then it will chart that there is a lingual bar on these teeth. If there are braces present and it is on the all upper, select all upper, go to the Conditions button, go to Braces, click Use, click OK, and it will chart all the braces on the buccal surface of the teeth. If there is something that is charted that you would like to delete, right click, go down to the delete arrow, click the condition that you want to delete. It will then remove the condition off of that tooth. If there is core buildup seen radiographically on a crown, click the tooth that it presents on, then click the BLD-UP button, click OK, and it will highlight the tooth presenting that there is core buildup under the crown. If the patient is a child or presents with primary teeth, you may select the Select All, then click the Primary button. It will change the chart to have primary teeth. If the child presents with some permanent teeth, select the tooth that is permanent, then go to the permanent button. It will then change that tooth to become permanent. If you need to edit a restoration or decay, right-click the tooth, go to Edit, click the condition, go down to the Detailed Surfaces, and remove or add the surface that it presents on. Then click OK. With leaving what was left, it will remove what you deselected. If you would like to see the history of the tooth, so what you have charted, right-click again, click the History, click Yes, and then it will show what you have done to that tooth. The surfaces are over here on the right. For perio charting, there are multiple different buttons. There is the PD, which stands for pocket depth, GM, which stands for gingival margin, FG for furcations, MOB, which stands for mobility, MGJ, which is mucogingival junction. To start off, we will start with the pocket depths. Up top is the buccal, and below is the lingual. Starting at tooth number 2, we will start to type in the numbers of the pocket depth. For example, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. It will automatically go to the lingual side after you are done charting the buccal surfaces. After charting the pocket depth measurements, you are able to move on to the gingival margin. Click the GM button and select where there is recession on each tooth that there presents with. For example, tooth number 1 has recession of 5 millimeters. After charting the gingival margin, you are able to then move on to the furcation involvement. Click the FG button. After clicking the FG button, you are able to select where the furcation is on the tooth. For example, tooth number 1 presents with a distal furcation that is a class 2. So I go down below the FG button and click the number 2. After that, it will chart the number 2 in the distal portion of that tooth. After charting all the furcations that present in the patient's mouth, you are able to move on to the mobility. Click the MOB button. After clicking the MOB button, you are able to select the tooth that presents with mobility. For example, I am selecting tooth number 7. After selecting the tooth that has mobility, I am able to go back down under the MOB button and select the class that the tooth presents with. For example, tooth number 7 presents with a class 3 mobility. It will then chart the number 3 on the top of the chart. After charting the mobility, you're able to move on to the mucogingival junction. Click the MGJ button. You are then able to enter the values of the MGJ for the teeth. You are able to then click that tooth, click the number 2 spot, then click the lock button. This will make sure that the cursor and the values that are entered are at that center spot. For example, 4, 6, 5, 5. If you have to go back and change the tooth, the reading, you're able to hit the back button and change it. For example, I am changing the reading for tooth number 3 to a 6. Then I'm able to hit the forward arrow and continue with entering my values. After charting everything for the perio chart, make sure you click the Save. This will make sure that the data that you have entered is saved. If there is bleeding on a tooth, you are able to click the bleeding button and it will show that there is bleeding on that spot and it will present with a red dot. If there is separation, you are able to click the separation button. So I'm clicking the separation button, and if there is separation with bleeding on a tooth, it comes up as a brown button. If there is just separation on a tooth, you're able to click the separation button and it will present with a yellow dot. For the perio chart, you're able to see the comparison of each visit that the patient comes in for. For this chart, you're able to see the patient's 3 different visits and the different numbers that are according to each visit. The green numbers represent that the numbers have improved. The red numbers mean they have not improved. If you go down to the bottom of the screen, you're able to see the summary. In this summary, there are the number of teeth and the number of sites that present in the bleeding, separation, furcations, mobility, pocket depth ranges, and the clinical attachment ranges. So yet again, it does not show that this is a fraction. It shows that this is the number of teeth that present with 1 to 3 pocket depth out of the number of sites that are present in that area. Going back up to the top of the screen, click the perio graft. Here, you are able to compare and see each of them. For here, you're able to compare the pocket depth, gingival margins, and mucal gingival junction. The green and red bars are the pocket depth. The green is the mucal gingival junction, and the blue is the gingival margin. Going to the comparison graph, you're able to compare each visit for each 3 readings. So gingival margin, mucal gingival junction, and clinical attachment. Each of them show up separately. For example, this is the clinical attachment graph. The blue, green, and red show the different days that the patient has come in. For each time, you're able to see the difference and be able to chart the patient's progression or regression during each visit.
To record or document services or assessments done, you will make sure that your patient is open to their chart by clicking on patient and selecting their patient name. You go down to the notepad down here, it says notes. If there is no note history, it'll be blank. You can still click on it. This brings you to their entire note history at the bottom. You can scroll down to get to the note that you need, or to input a new note using the template. You go over to the right hand side where it says auto note, click on it. It brings you a menu of different templates that are already set up. For example, the extraoral exam, you click on the patient data 1 extraoral exam, click use, and from here you can input all of the relevant information. If you have no significant findings, you can type NSF. If you do find anything, it's the same as your written chart where you write the information, its location, its size, borders, consistency, etc. Once you're done with your EI extraoral exam, you can type out your name where it says SCH. Always make sure to type out your full name. When you're done, come over to the right hand side and click OK. And if there is no spelling errors or words that the computer does not recognize, it'll come right down. If, for example, there's a word that the computer doesn't recognize, click OK, you'll get this spell check window. Whether you add, ignore, or cancel out of it, you have to make sure that you OK it again. Otherwise, it will not bring it down here to the bottom. Once it brings the note down to the bottom and this top area is blank, you'll know that your note has been saved. to go on to your next assessment, you save your note and click Auto Note again and select your next one. In this case, intraoral exam. You do this for each and every assessment. The oral habits and conditions section of the paper restorative chart is also here. So you go to restorative, and here's where you would add all of your conditions and observations like crossbite, occlusion, thumb sucking, all that stuff. You add it to the bottom. At the bottom when you're done, you write in your name, again your full name, click OK, and your note is saved. The gingival assessment is, you have a key up here, and this is like the key on your paper chart. Make sure you address all of those for your generalized findings and your localized findings. Again, you sign your name and you click OK. The accretions assessment is one where you have to delete what is not relevant to your patient. So if your patient is has moderate accretions, you would delete the other classifications that don't apply, leaving you with just what applies to your patient for your generalized findings. Down here you can get into more specifics for your generalized calculus, biofilm, and stain assessments, whether they're light, moderate, heavy, or generalized light, localized moderate, things like that. And again, sign your full name. Click OK. Make sure you go through your spelling error window. Click OK again, and it brings it down. Stop for a second. The history note will also show who was signed in when the note was written, as well as the date that it was written on. So down here where it says date, you'll see the date of the different notes. So, for example, the different dates down here. You'll also see the different users. So one user was signed in here, and another one was signed in there. And then the type of note, which you don't really need to worry about. If there's a note specific to a tooth, you can click on the tooth, write your note, and the tooth number will show up here under a tooth. Always be sure that you are signed in when you are writing your note, because again, it records the username, and even though you've signed on your name, in order to remain accurate, you want to be sure that you are the person signed in. You can also, this program also records changes, so if you change something to your note today, the same day, it saves the most recent version. But if you change it tomorrow, it'll record that the note has been modified, who modified it and when it was modified. That is in order to keep an accurate patient record. And that's really it. Most of your notes, just be sure that you haven't accidentally changed the note type to something else. Your notes will be under general note. That way all of the notes are available to you. You are not able to delete notes. If for whatever reason you need to delete something, just talk with your instructor. And that should be it. Always be sure to remember that this is a patient record. This is a legal document, so things should be as accurate and precise as possible. That is why you sign your full name, and the information should always be accurate. So we can X out of this, and we're done with this.